Yes, so we are live now, and I hope everything will work out. That would be pretty cool, right? So you're y'all are ready? Question mark.
Yes.
So
Good to
then
go.
let's start. Windows.
Dancing! Yay!
Hooray! Ah. Hello, hello. Hello to In Conversation 24. This is our second birthday with the In Conversation. We had the year 2 in October, and now it's the 24th episode of In Conversation. And we have a surprise guest today. Again, Daniel.
Did I not tell you?
How's it going, everybody?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing well. And
Very
Fern?
good. And Fern, how are you?
Yeah. Very strange day today.
I can confirm that. Same here. I don't even know.
So no.
But well, let's say hello to all of you out there who already watched one of the In Conversations we did in the last 2 years. Know who we are, but for those of you who haven't watched one yet or don't remember, with me, my name's Pete. I like pictures. You know that. Probably because you're on my channel, on my YouTube channel. With me on the show, Daniel, the second time. Hi, Daniel. Maybe introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a former student of UC Davis, and I'm now the principal photographer and videographer for undergraduate education at that same institution.
Thank you. And with us on the show as well, Fernando, Dr. Fern. Like always, also you can find his blog at qbn-scholar.tumblr.com, and he's also admin for luxlit.net. And well, do you have a blog yet, Daniel?
I don't. I know last time we talked about me getting a Tumblr account, but I haven't gotten on top of that. Things have been really busy. I've got a documentary film in the works, so.
Wait, is it a work or work related or?
It's a personal endeavor that I'm doing, sort of like a charity thing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, Pete needs all the charity he can get. At least somebody talking to him. I mean, right there, that will get you straight to the pearly gates. You're up to the front. Yo, you talk to Pete like if he was a nice person. Straight to the front of the line.
Very cool. But since you don't have a Tumblr account yet, this means you will be coming back one more time at least. So this is it's cool with us, right?
But you do have an Instagram.
Yeah. I do have an Instagram, yes. Should I? So I don't have a link to your live broadcast. I would want to jump in the chat and leave that for the folks that are watching live with us. But, little self promotion there, if I can get away with that.
Perfect.
Sure.
No, put it in the chat, definitely. Speaking of the chat, we have, of course, a live chat, and I see it's already crowded. Amazing. Hello to the live chat. Hello to Amy, to James, to Roy, Lyndon Arden's highlights, and to Steffi. She's also on the chat. So I'm sure there will be more people on the chat during, well, even more. And well, without further ado, let's dive in, because I think this episode today will be packed again, because we have a really fascinating topic. At least I see. I think it's a fascinating topic. We'll be talking about photographing people, so approaches to portrait photography. And I think it's the first time ever that I really prepared for one of these. No, but I have. I think Fern also has. I don't know if Fern told you, Daniel, because we decided that we will select a couple of portraits that we made, and so maybe you have something prepared as well, or Fern just
Sure.
can tell you. You have?
Yeah, I've got some stuff on my website that I could share with you, and
Perfect.
if you just pull that up and screen share, that would work great.
Absolutely perfect. So yeah, how should we start? I'm just a bit. I have to
Just
start.
So here's the thing. One of the things that fascinates me about this topic is that in a way it goes back to the same thing that we've so often discussed and so many others have also discussed. For example, Daniel takes for work, he takes photos of people. He takes portraits of people, including like one of the upper echelon management members who I have a great rapport. And I was kidding with him that he made him look good and blah blah blah. But the bottom line is he's good at what he does. But how is that different? And how do you approach that differently than, say, and it's not just how you approach the person, but the kind of setup that you use, the kind of environment, how your attitude with how you communicate with the person. There's so many ways that this whole photographing people thing can be talked about, as opposed to photographing anything else, and photography in itself, because it depends on what it is that you're trying to achieve. Sometimes we don't know. I mean, I was just looking through all of my photos to get a few, and I got way too many. But the bottom line is, I have learned over. It's interesting to me to see that learning curve. But I just went out and took pictures of people. You know what I mean? Not like someone like. So Daniel, how did you get started? How did you wind up? I mean, specifically with the portrait job and does it differ from your personal? There we go.
So I got started. I was kind of thrown into it, and really just had to figure it all out for myself. It started when one of our units at undergraduate education was having a workshop for their students. They were doing a workshop on how to kind of set up a LinkedIn profile, and they said that, like, if you have a picture on your LinkedIn profile, you are like 10 times more likely to get a job. So part of my involvement of that was just taking those portrait photos. And I looked at other, business type portraits, and it's like, okay, I can do this. Got the department to buy like a really simple lighting setup. And from there, it was just like, I got some lighting cheat sheets, and I kind of just made it work. I'll leave in the chat a link to the cheat sheet that I used. I just left it in there just now. So if you could take a look at that, that's got some lighting setups for getting different looks. But I started just interpreting what other people were doing and found what looked good, or what I thought looked good, and what was appropriate to the genre, which was professional portraits for business. As time went on, like, I got pulled into other different projects, and those required different sort of styles, and I was able to branch out from just like the businessy portrait in kind of a studio type setting to going and doing, I guess, more editorial type portraits, telling a person's story in one image. and specifically my work with First Gen, which is it's a campus initiative throughout all of the universities of California that really aims to celebrate students who are the first in their family to go to university. And yeah. Oh, Fern, I think you're muted.
Yeah. So that First Gen, as you know, includes your boss, who was so graciously part of the thing that I was part of, where we interviewed her again in a very studio setup kind of situation. But yeah, so
can I just chime in for a moment?
Sure.
For all those of you who are not on the chat or can't access the chat at the moment, Daniel's Instagram is okay. Now I have a problem because I want to pronounce it German. Doberbauer. It's Doberbauer. So Doberbauer. So Doberbauer. So if you want to check Daniel's Instagram while watching this episode.
Thank you.
Oh, you didn't put it in the chat?
I did, but I think he's
no. But
setting it up for people who aren't.
In the YouTube chat, or the YouTube chat doesn't take. Oh, there we go. Is it? I assumed that Fern would be here, would be late, and hence. Oh, no, Heiko. No. Anyway, do you use the same sort of lighting setups for your personal portraiture that you use for the business?
Most of the time when I do personal portraiture, it's more kind of in situ. It's not in a studio environment. I would love to do more studio work. It lets me be the most creative that I can be, because I have control over every single element.
Right.
Whereas if I'm doing something in situ, it's a little bit less control. I can control where the location is, but I might not be able to control the weather for that day, or how cluttered the environment is, or whether the leaves are on the trees and that kind of thing. So I'm sorry, I've lost the question. What was your initial question?
No, that's fine. You answered. So when you say in situ, do you mean that includes natural light exclusively?
It could. Yes. Yeah. So not exclusively, no, but recently I acquired a Canon 430 EX2 flash and a Godox 150 centimeter octabox. Big old octabox.
Right.
Those two in conjunction, they work really great. And supplementing with some background light, maybe for like a little bit of hair light, or using the background light to separate the subject from the background, but then using my flash as my primary light source, they work great in conjunction with each other.
Cool. I was going to ask you a few questions about the octabox. Well, one of them that I'm the most interested in, does it include the front? No, the front, or is
diffuser?
It just the diffuser? Do you have any kind of diffusers for that?
Yes. So the octabox, so includes the box.
Sorry, Daniel. So for me to understand, the octabox basically is a huge diffused light, right? So it is. I don't know. Of course, you can take it off, I guess. But
so there's a diffusing element that kind of velcros to the front of it. Generally, you would point your flash into the inside cavity of it. So it's kind of parabola shaped, and you would point your flash inside so that it bounces off of the reflective inside material, which scatters it, and then it goes through the diffuser and out to the subject. So you get really nice soft light that's even without hot spots. And there are some hot spots, but yeah.
So
I'm assuming that you're looking it up right now.
No. So hold on. You are screen sharing live. So here's what we're talking about. This is the back. And that was the other question I was going to ask you, is yours have, and then of course the flash or whatever light source goes in the center, and then the diffuser that I was talking about was that cover, which there's different kinds of diffusers.
There are different kinds of diffusers, yeah. I have the first one that was shown, and it just kind of velcros onto the front.
Right.
But actually, so it works great when I'm in the studio, or like in an indoor environment. But since I'm using a flash that works off of infrared, you have to have line of sight. Oh yeah, yes, that's a great modifier. The I think they call it the honeycomb.
Yes.
Yeah, that's superb. Where was I going with that? Yeah, my flash uses line of sight. So if I don't have line of sight from my camera to the flash, then it doesn't trigger. But I'm getting around that by putting a shoot-through umbrella on instead of the softbox, and it's great. But maybe we're going a little bit technical a little too soon.
Yes, no,
are we diving too far? Okay.
And I was gonna head in that other direction, because that's also the technical part is quote unquote the easier part, because, and this is why I think Pete decided on this topic, because it's the approaching people that is, and I know I have my own way. How do you approach people when you're doing professional as opposed to, and I mean, some of these people anyway, like the one person who I kidded you about, who you do know and who you do work with, but who's also your supervisor, or not even your supervisor, but way above you. How do you communicate with those people as opposed to your in situ with your friends and so on, or whoever, or with a stranger? Do you have different ways of approaching it?
So I think probably the first step is just gaining trust. And if it's with your friends, like shooting your friends first is a great way to learn. I didn't have that opportunity. I had to kind of learn just by diving in with a bunch of strangers. But if you have the opportunity to take portraits of your friends and family, that's a really great way to start, because they already trust you. They already know you. And they know that you're gonna, well, yeah, in your case, maybe they don't trust you, but it really gives you a chance
they shouldn't.
to explore. It gives you a chance to explore, and if you want to try something new that you haven't done before, and I don't know, just dip your toe in the water, your friends are going to be less critical of you than a stranger who's paying you, several $100s for a professional portrait. If you're like, oh, hey, this isn't working, but, let's try something else, and that doesn't work, and let's try something else, and that doesn't work. And they're eventually going to start to lose faith in your abilities, when really you're just trying to troubleshoot and go through what actually works for that person. But if you lose that trust, that sort of faith that they have in your abilities, there tends to be a bit of a disconnect, and you can tell in their facial features, you can tell in their body language that they're sort of disengaging from the session. And at that point, you should just clue in and maybe even end the session early. But I'm getting away from the point, which is trust is critical.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting because you mentioned Platoon a while back when you were with us the last time. And he is, I have to admit, I mean, I don't know if any of you know who he is. What's his first name?
His first name is Platoon.
Oh, his first name is Platoon. Platon.
Yeah.
He does usually very stark, very close up. And what is interesting, he uses, and I'll set up a bunch of links for several of these things, because I have had this in mind. And he uses, if I'm not mistaken, possibly something like a 23 or a 35 millimeter, and he shoots a lot of times up close, which distorts the features so that the front of the face and the nose and everything are a little exaggerated. And he often uses, if I'm not mistaken, that light that's very direct from the lens, and it's a very harsh, hard, highly contoured images of Barack Obama. The one that I came, what was the leader from the Middle East?
Muammar Gaddafi.
Muammar Gaddafi is another one. There's several of his images that are very striking. But what was really interesting, on Netflix, there is a series about creatives, and I can't remember the name of the series. I'll look it up and I'll share the link in it.
It's Abstract, the Art of Design. Yeah.
Abstract, the Art of Design. Thank you. And that's how I discovered Platoon. And he talks about it. One of the fascinating things was that they filmed him doing the shoots of the women from, I cannot remember what country in Africa, who had been sexually assaulted and sexually abused as part of the political conflicts of the region where they live. And I will never forget how he spoke to them, and he made even absolutely sure that all of his crew, and he kept telling them, please, let's keep this quiet. These women have been through a lot. They're doing us a favor. How he lowered himself. And that was another thing. With almost everyone he was talking to, he would always sit lower to them and get that trust. But especially with those women, he was incredibly aware of what they had been through and their presence and again, never breaking, because we've had this, and I remember a couple of years ago on Tumblr where how do you behave with a model, especially if it's a nude model, unless you really are intimate with this person, you don't go up and touch, or whatever. You build that trust. So there's the Platoon part of it, and then there is a documentary on Annie Leibovitz that I saw several years, like 3 or 4 years ago, and it is on YouTube. So if you look up Annie Leibovitz, there's several documentaries, but there's one where they were talking about her photography, and they were specifically talking about the Meryl Streep portrait where she's got the white on her face and she's pinching her skin and making herself look abstract. And then the other one that I remember, which is the one of Whoopi Goldberg in the bathtub filled with milk, and a few of the other portraits. And what the comment was that again struck me was that Meryl Streep, Annie Leibovitz created that trust. And that's why celebrities were willing to go out on a limb, as you said, and do pretty much anything really weird. There was another one of Bette Midler. There's the one of Yoko Ono and John Lennon, where he's in a fetal position next to her naked, which is a classic photograph. I mean, so the whole trust thing. But again, how do you do that if you're out on the street? My situation, I'm walking around with a camera, and I'm like today, I'm going to Chinese New Year's parade. I'm walking around with my camera. I want to take pictures of people. How do you? I mean, I know how I do it, and Pete, maybe, or anybody in our YouTube audience, how do you do that? How do you do that in situ, on the spot?
Yeah, that's a great question, and let me know if you find the answer, because street
I got my answer.
You do?
Yes, yeah, let's hear it. Well, Pete, you got anything?
No, because I never did street photography. Well, not in that thing, in a way that I would call street photography, or that would I say deem worthy enough to be called street photography. So I don't know. And to be very honest, I don't even have the big interest in doing in taking pictures of people that I don't know. But maybe that's something. Well, that I have no relationship with of any sort. But the trust thing is, and maybe this is a bit of a detour because it has nothing to do with street photography. but I had exactly that. It was 2 weeks ago. I had an assignment for 40 portraits, or portraits of 40 people in 4 days. So it was shooting for a company and taking photos of the employees, and it was a wild mixture of people, because some were really excited, wanted to have their photo taken. I was lucky, or fortunate, that I knew many of them from past years, and from because I worked with some of them already, but there was still about half of them I've never met before, and there were many, of course, who didn't want their photos to be taken, but they had to, right? Because it was for the company's website, and so. And it was because you talked about trust, how to gain people's trust. I mean, if you do something like that, you're kind of in a you're in a pretty bad situation, because you have to satisfy the person who gave you the assignment, so your client, right, which is the head of the company. You have to satisfy the person whose photo you take, even though, or especially when they don't want their photos to be taken, or not really happy about that. Really tough, because when people hire you as a person, they take photos of me. They want they want to have photos, and that's often hard enough. But having people in front of your lens who don't really like to be photographed, that's not so easy. And there was particularly a very young woman, and who was even, and she didn't really make the impression that she wanted to have photos taken of her, and so we talked a bit, and she said, "Well, I'm not really photogenic." And I said, "Well, how do you?" And that's where when it comes to how to build trust, right? Because if a person, especially a person like that, who believes they're not photogenic, if they it's super hard to get them into a state of mind where they kind of let go and feel comfortable, because you see, or you will see, if a person is comfortable in front of the camera, unless they're really good actors.
Right.
And so apparently I'm a good actor, because I hate being in front of the camera. But and people always tell me, "Well, you stick your face into the camera all the time. You must really love it." No, I don't. Whatever. So what I did was to just simply talk with her, right, and say, why do you think that you're not photogenic? And then there was the crucial bit, and that was kind of a bit of an experiment, and I'm happy that it worked out. I could have completely failed with that. And she said, "Yeah, because no photo ever that I'm on, or I don't look good in any photo ever that was taken of me." And so I said, "Well, then you need to change your photographer."
Yeah,
And
that's a good point.
and that, thank goodness, that made her laugh, right? Because it could have completely backfired. But on the other hand, and I honestly believe that there's no person ever, or there never has been a person ever on this planet, and there is no person who is not photogenic. Because with some people it's harder, of course. With others it's easier. But there is a possibility,
right,
to take a photo of a person that looks good. The problem is, and I think that's the main problem, and that's one of the biggest tasks as a portrait photographer you have, is to match expectations, because the person in front of the camera has a certain
or not match expectations.
or
Hold on,
not
or
match.
not.
Very
Because
good.
that young woman, her expectation was, I never look good, and that was her expectation. So you have, so yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no. Perfect. Because you have an expectation of you. It's a thing. It's the same when listening to your own voice, right? Most people, the first time they hear their voice taped, I hated it. It was, it's like one of the most terrifying things ever if you hear your voice the first time. And so it's very similar with photos, and even worse with video, right? But it's a thing that other people know you that way, and you just simply don't know you that way. So this is so trying to find out what is it that the other person, the person you'll be taking photos of, what is it that they like about themselves? What is what they don't like about themselves? What is what they expect to look like later, in the good and in the bad? And trying to find out. Sometimes you can be really blunt and ask people, like, how do you want to look like? Because you can do a lot of things with lighting. I think I found it fascinating that the first thing you talked about, Daniel, was light, because I think light and the type of lens we're using, the focal length, these are the two. Well, light, of course, photography anyway, but you can do so much with light, and you can do a lot with the focal length. So there's absolutely a possibility to make every person look good on a photograph without retouching the photo later. It's a matter how to how can we find out what the person wants, what you want, and then if we work for someone who tells you to take photos of someone else, then there's a third party involved who has also has expectations. So matching that is not that easy, and turned out, well, the photos turned out quite okay-ish. It was so of that, because if you only have like 15 minutes or 20 minutes with a person you've never talked with before, and who says, I'm not photogenic, the photos will turn out bad anyway. So getting these people, and so my trick, and that's the thing, I just simply talk while taking photos. I talk all of the time, make jokes, and so, and then sometimes when they least expect it, and it was with another person who also was very, very nervous. And I just talk and say, well, just I'm just taking a couple of test shots, and just because of lighting, and I just talked with a person, and she answered, and I asked question, and while doing that, I was taking a couple of shots, and then I said, okay, look at the photos. Which one do you like? And I showed her 3-4 shots that I took, and then I was able to figure out in which direction I probably should go with that person. So that's the thing that I do, and that was the hardest bit for me to learn, to be able to talk while operating my camera.
Right.
That was really a tough bit, but I think that's my method.
So it's really interesting. I don't know if either one of you or if any of you have heard of Peter Hurley. And I will also have a link to Hurley. He has a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube. God bless him. His photography is very limited, I would say, but he did invent this setup of lighting, and he usually almost always puts people like very up close again, you know, that kind of thing. Straight lighting, but beautiful soft lighting. Does a lot of celebrity portraits. He's the one who came up with the system of having people, I don't know if you know about this, but kind of like look at them and then just put their chin out a little to create a more emphasized jawline. And you can identify, you can see his portraits. And what's really interesting about him too is that he used to be a model, and he was a top male model. I want to say in the 80s. Really fascinating. But Pete, he does exactly the same thing. And there's a video. He talks about that several times. There's one where it's fascinating. There's one video on YouTube, and again, I'll look for it and share the link, where he is actually talking about that whole process, and he is going to photograph a photographer. And how to get a photographer, which is photographing photographer on a stick, or it can suck shit through a brick. It can be the best or the worst. But how he got this person to just, you know, open up and feel blah blah, and it was a wonderful thing to watch. But the other thing you mentioned, Pete, that I want to bring up, there's another video that I saw, which again, I'll share the link if I can find that one. I don't remember who it was or where it was, but I'll find it, hopefully. Where it's another guy who's very famous for doing celebrity portraits, blah, blah, blah. And he was talking about the fact that often he only has at maximum 15 minutes, and he has to create that whole environment of trust and everything in that time. Granted, a lot of those people have learned how to just, you know, or whatever it is that they fucking do. Ooh, that they bleeping do, because this is YouTube. You can't say fuck. Anyway.
This is Tumblr. You can. We were still in a free speech zone on YouTube.
Oh, that's true. So it's a fascinating thing, but I think it goes back to and Amy posted something about a video, I think, about the confidence level, which is what Peter Hurley and others have talked about too. You have to be confident when you're doing it. If you're fumbling, then you make the person nervous, because it's like, okay, if this person doesn't know what they're doing, what the hell? Although it goes back to also what Daniel said about, you know, when you're doing it with friends, you can also be like, look, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just learning. So I'm gonna. Go ahead.
Sorry, can I chime in there, because that was actually how I started with portrait photography, because I know a lot of actors, like professional actors, and they all need photos. Right, for their how do you say, resume? Is that
portfolio, resume. Portfolio.
Yeah. So and I said, well, I have a camera, and some said, well, you have a camera, so it was kind of half. And so
you're a photographer.
You're a photographer, right? Which was and so. Funnily enough, the first thing I did when I became more interested in portrait photography was to buy a flash and a shoot-through umbrella, which is really cool. Which is still now I use the stuff less and less. I hate using the flash. Sometimes you have to, but that's the great thing. If you have someone who has in some way acting experience or modeling experience or posing experience, whatever, and so they are more relaxed in front of the camera, and they will help you. And so and since if you're I think that is the most important thing in any way, in every bit when working with people is honesty. If you tell them straight away, I don't have a lot of experience, I don't really know what I'm doing, but maybe we can do something together, then here we are at expectations again. If they know, well, maybe something comes out, and that's the classic TFP arrangement, right? Well, you won't get paid, or I won't get money from you, but will share the pictures, and that if you're straightforward with friends in the beginning, of course, then that's a great way to practice. And the thing though is that sometimes if these are friends who don't really need the photos, they might lose patience pretty easily. That happened to me as well a lot. So because I was
You mean patience during the process, or
during the process of taking photos, because well, what can we do this way, and then you have to arrange the light a bit. If you don't know really what you do, then putting up the light, even if you know what you're doing, then lighting is probably the most time consuming bit in both photography and video, or can be the most time consuming bit both in photography and in videography. And if you don't know what you're doing, then it will take even longer. And then people easily and of course lose patience, and then it will become a pain for everyone involved. But well, if they need the pictures, then they will probably endure that.
Right. Or if you agree. But that's interesting, because the kind of people photography that I do, I use natural light, and it's almost always like my friend Dominic, the one that I posted the other day, with the basically it's a horizontal, it's a landscape format with him on the one side and then that wall and all that light, and it's a very contrasty photo. That was the two of us sitting. I was showing him my new lens, my prime lens, my 55 millimeter, and because he's a photographer, he's such a brilliant photographer, and he's so good at photos. I mean, at light, using Lightroom, I hate him. But and we were having wine, and all of a sudden, and then the other picture was in the restaurant and having dinner, and I just, great natural light here. And he is, by the way, one of my best models. I've gotten really, the few I've taken, really good portraits of him, but it's always been just a couple of pictures and run. And with the street, the same thing. And even when I did the studio setup with the TJ set up for me for work, the photos that were never used, but that I have them. I'll show them if anybody's interested. And I have all of them. Were never used for our project. It was, okay, one of my colleagues, here, you want to here, take your pictures, 5 minutes, get out. I don't want you. I'm sick and tired of your fucking face. Get out. That's how I usually talk to them anyway. But there were great photographs, and they were comfortable. I mean, it was an absolutely amazing experience. So I don't think, I mean, unless you're doing like some kind of editorial or something, photography for fashion or something like that, then yes, or if it's depending on the situation. Let me put it that way. But for me, I have been able to get, with no pressure of any expectations whatsoever, because it's not for pay or anything else, but that instantaneous moment photography that I usually do of people gets me some great results. But again, that's just my niche of doing that. I don't know how I would. I think I'd be great. I think, humbly, think I'd be good at the other stuff, because I can bring that in. But yes, so you do have to be a people person, bottom line, right? Daniel, you're smiling.
Yeah, so I don't know. What's funny is I'm an introvert. I'll be the first to admit, like, I'm an introvert.
Totally.
I completely recharge my batteries when I'm away from people.
Yes.
But I have just this weird ability to switch on, and
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's mostly a learned thing. Like, I've learned things through doing retail and a little bit of sales. Like, you learn to talk to people. You learn to
Yes.
sell things that you don't
Yes.
give a bleep about. And I don't know. You learn to talk, and eventually that turns into learning how just to completely open up to strangers. And
Yes.
I think in portraits, when you're on the other side of the lens, that's really vulnerable, especially if you're using just the lens that I was just gushing about the other day, my 85mm f1.8.
I gotta tell you,
ultra crisp. Like,
yes,
if you were to zoom in on any of those images that I posted on Instagram, if you were to zoom in on the original file, you can see the little folds in the person's eyeball.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
And I was a good 8 feet away. So I mean, it's really vulnerable having just every single micro detail of your face just right there on the screen. So as the photographer, just sharing bits of yourself, sharing just anything that helps the person feel a little bit less vulnerable. Like, oh, I'm feeling really vulnerable, but here they are giving me this personal information unsolicited. And you know, you don't want to overshare, but also you want to just give them something that shows, like, I'm a human too. Like, I'm not just this faceless photographer. I have a personality. I have flaws. And so we mentioned Platoon earlier, and on Abstract: The Art of Design, they showed him taking portraits of Colin Powell. Colin Powell.
Yes.
Colin Powell. And you know, this is a huge person. Like, he's just, he commands so much respect. And Platoon came into it knowing that, like, this is going to be a good dude. Like, I think they met before and they chalked and they had some rapport, but also, you know, it was looking like he was a little nervous. I mean, he's been on national TV, but here he is in Platoon's studio, and, you know, Platoon uses this Hasselblad medium format camera where you can get down to the micro detail level. And you could tell, like, he was a little nervous. Like, he wasn't too sure. Like, there are all these people around him. He's feeling a little claustrophobic. And Platoon was, like, just asking him personal questions, like, you know, how long have you been married? And he's like, I don't know, 30 some odd years. I don't remember the number. And he's like, man, you got to give me advice. and like, just like, wow, that's a good way in. Like, he's asking a question, but the question implies some personal information, like he's having relationship issues or he needs some advice on how to make his relationship work or whatever. It's sharing something about himself, and it's getting his subject to open up a little bit more. And, you know, the first shot that he took, he was like, oh, amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, because in that same documentary, in that same episode of Abstract, about Platoon, he also talks about the instance of photographing Muammar Gaddafi, which is also a very powerful image, but it was a totally different situation because it was at some conference where there were world leaders, and one of the leaders was also Barack Obama, who I think was going to come in and have his picture taken, because I know Platoon does, and how there was this tension. And what he did in that sense, and he sensed that Muammar Gaddafi wanted to, you know, give the I'm the daddy here, and he used that, and the image he created was incredibly communicative of that aspect, because I'm not a believer of capturing the person's soul in an image. No, we capture an instant, we capture a fragment if we're lucky. Okay, my opinion. But he captured that. And then it also reminded me of, and I can't remember the guy's name, the famous portrait photographer who took the photo of Winston Churchill. And he wanted Winston Churchill to exude, and he was trying hard. And Winston Churchill was with his cigar, and he kept saying, please get rid of the cigar. And Winston Churchill wouldn't. And he just was not having it. And que Dios lo bendiga. God bless him. The photographer, and again, I can't remember his name, but it's the classic image of Winston Churchill. Just big fat went up, took Winston Churchill's cigar away, and snapped the image that defines how we think of Winston Churchill. Because Winston Churchill was looking at him like, I'm going to take that cigar when this is over and shove it up your ass, you mother. I mean, it was this livid. I mean, it's just gorgeous. So you do have to, I mean, going to also back to what Pete said and what many others have said, you have to play. You have to play. One of, and I've been wanting to, and again, I'll shut up in a second, but one of my my favorite singer of all times, and all y'all are young, you may not know who this is, but it's Carly Simon. And
excuse me for a second, guys. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm gonna mute my mic.
Okay, Carly Simon has had some of the most stunning album covers. When you look up the best album covers of the last 100 years or 50 years or whatever, she at least has one or two in that list of top 100. And one of them was I found out recently was very controversial because she's in a little teddy and she's on her knees and blah blah blah. And then reading about the photo session, it turns out it was a famous photographer, and it was a playful session which started out one way and then it became something else. So again, it's about developing, but it's also about the rapport. So yes. So anyway, Pete. Anything? No?
No, I don't. I was listening. I just shared. I shared the link to Platoon's website on the chat.
Oh, perfect.
So it's there. Well, it's Platoon Photo. So PLATONPHOTO.com.
And he has a TED Talk, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, all of these photographers, by the way, you look up stuff. I do want to say, now I just remembered, and I'm glad you're back, Daniel. So what you mentioned about being an introvert, and you also mentioned being a photographer in front of the camera and be in that vulnerability. So my guy, Sean Tucker, he did actually dedicated a video that was a post that was introvert and describing how he is an introvert. And again, it's fascinating. He is an introvert, yet he does these YouTube videos. He's developed this huge following. He does portrait work. He does street work. And yet how he weaves that into his process. Then the other one that was fascinating that he posted was he wound up setting up a session with a portrait photographer friend of his to take his portraits, and they filmed it, and then it was this whole discussion back and forth of how it went. But again, it's the same thing. It's like, you know, and I think the three of us agree, and I don't know if anybody out there in listening to us or watching this would agree. It really depends on the conversation and just having the patience and having, as Peter Hurley says, I have fun when I'm doing this. And I love that. I'm having fun. Which will so let me give a little history, and I've talked about this before because you did ask, so I'm going to answer this now. Speaking of having fun, I have a bizarre history with taking pictures of people in public. One of the very first times I decided to walk around this little town of Davis and take pictures, I remember I was standing, I was taking pictures just of the street. And as I'm walking past the mattress store, I don't know if you know, you know where it is, like on the way to the train station. And I was standing on the other side, and I'm walking. And all of a sudden, this guy comes out of the mattress store, and he says, "Can I take a picture of you?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, no, because you were taking pictures of me." And I'm like, I can show you what do you know, and he eventually got it, but, you know, it was this whole privacy thing. And I was like, whatever, you know, and I hadn't taken, I didn't even, you know, he may have been in one of my pictures, but I honestly didn't, you know. Then I had the issue with that I was taking photos of our wonderful band rehearsing. And I captured pictures of this one young man who just was it was in like the 4 or 5 frames that I took, totally out of step. He was lost. He wasn't playing the instrument. It just oozed like, what the fuck am I doing? But I got some pictures so anyway, coincidentally, like I want to say a couple of weeks after I took those, I meet him with Tim Kerbavis, our sound guy.
Yeah.
At work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, you're the guy in the band, and you were having, you know, and I said, don't worry, I'm not going to share the pictures, yada yada. However, I decided to make a post about that whole thing, and I did share a couple of the pictures. What I didn't think about, because I didn't tag them Banda or anything else, but I did in the content and the description in the conversation, and of course they're indexed. So you know the some of his Banda marching band friends saw the pictures and made fun of him and gave him a hard time. And he sent me this long, and I think I have it somewhere, just laid into me how, because he was really angry that, you know, blah, 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 and you use these images. And it turned out at the end, but by the end, he's like, look, I get it. And one of the things I'll never forget, by the way, the one thing he did say in that email, in that message was, you with your expensive camera. This is an expensive camera. I mean, it's a hefty. The camera I had at the time was the D50, which was already like 8 years old, and which I'd bought for $200. To me, that wasn't an expensive camera, but that's one of the things that clicked immediately, how I was perceived, because I was carrying around anything that looked like this. To most people, even if it's $100, 50-year-old camera that takes rinky-dinky bad pictures, they're seeing this, and especially if it has the longer lens, and it just freaked me out. But what was amazing about his message was that he wrapped it up by saying, you know, I know I'm really mad and blah blah blah, and you know, but you know, I know I'll get over it, and maybe after some time I'll be fine. So you know, just don't worry about it, yada yada. So anyway, it gets even more coincidental because he was hired by our department, and he worked in the video group with Tim and Chris and all those people.
Oh no!
And so at first, you know, I didn't know, but I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I go in and talk to these people all the time. He's part of the environment, and we eventually even went on a couple of photo shoots. I remember, I want to say it was, I think, one of the graduation commencement exercises. You know, we just every once in a while I'll go in and work with a video group if they need a camera operator, and it was great. And we became, you know, maybe not best friends, but but it taught me to be, and I was always thinking about that in a lot of ways, but it taught me to be really respectful. The other thing that I've learned just by looking at my pictures is when I try to take a picture of someone that I think looks stupid or funny or that I'm being ridiculing, the pictures always come out horrible. Horrible, 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 horrible. So I've put all that aside. And so all of that is what I bring into when I will ask people on the street for pictures. One of the other things that I've developed over the last couple of years, like again with the Chinese festival, maybe not so much, but I hit on this 3 years ago at Carnival in San Francisco. I'm walking around and there's all this music, and all of a sudden this traditional Cuban song starts playing right next to me while I'm walking, and I just didn't care. I'm dancing in the middle of the street by myself, and what made it even more interesting was here's this very white-looking person dancing in very, very well in the, you know, traditional rumba and all of this stuff. And I was literally having a spiritual moment. And here's all these people of color and all these people going like, what the? And I'm like, fuck y'all. I mean, and I'm with my camera and I'm dancing, and they wound up taking pictures of me. And then it was really interesting. I thought, you know what? From now on, fuck it. I'll do that. I'm walking around and I'm dancing and I'm doing my thing. And hey, can I take your picture? And they already get into it because I'm having fun. So it's not even about, I guess it doesn't even appear to them that it's about, anything other than me just having fun. And that really helps, even if the pictures aren't good sometimes. But it's that I'm part of that celebratory environment. And the fact that I don't care and that I'm willing to make a fool of myself by dancing the rumba in the middle of downtown Sacramento during Pride, you know, while everybody's marching and stuff. It's absolute. It's so much fun and it's so liberating. But as an introvert, I will also say, when it's all over, I need to crawl into a dark space and curl up into a ball for at least 3 or 4 days. Mm-hmm. Because it just talking about it now makes me very emotional, but it also freaks me out because I can't think about it. And it's become just automatic. I mean, I'm looking forward to going to this thing today. Maybe not, but it's that energy and you get into it. And that's what really helps. And I ask, and most people say yes. Every once in a while, they'll say no. And it's fun, and it's just a couple of photos, and that's it. You know, they don't even ask to see, which I find fascinating. Only once has anybody ever asked me, "Oh, can I see the picture afterwards?" And that was one of the very first photos I took. But it's just this one instance where. But here, let's do this. Actually,
hey Fern, you're wearing pants.
Bite me. You know, I can always,
a rare thing.
I can always drop my pants, you know, because I am wearing underwear.
Don't. You know that I can kick you out of the chat. Yeah.
So it's where this, actually, let's do this. It's where this, to me, this photograph still, I don't know if you can see it. What struck me and just made my heart fly about this picture, and it was at that carnival where I discovered just have fun. I see myself in this woman right here. And I didn't see myself until afterward because I was paying attention to the composition and to these two women and having the feather and everything. And this picture, this is the one actually that I wrote about, and there was yeah. And that's the magic to me. But I think that's the magic that, and again, I don't know, I'm maybe being too deep and too spiritual and just full of shit. But that's the thing with these. Yeah.
Anyway. But hey, the thing is, we've been talking for 1 hour now, and this is the first picture.
You've been talking for 1 hour.
I did?
No, you've been really quiet.
Well, maybe it's my age that I don't forget things easy. But what about showing some pictures?
Yes,
wouldn't that
Daniel.
be a thing?
Yep, I'm into it. Who do we want to start with?
No, you go.
Yep. Okay. So I don't know how to screen share. I'm sorry to say.
If you scroll to the left, maybe, or to the right, you're going to. There's going to be one of these drawers that pops out. Screen share. There you go.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm just gonna pull up my website. Can you all see this? Like,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is my website. It is danieloberbauer.com.
By the way, is this Squarespace?
It is. Yeah.
There we go.
And this is my little portfolio section. And here are a few recents that I've taken. These are a couple of friends of mine. We went to Mendocino, and this is like in the little town of Mendocino. And anyway, we're just on a cliff, and this was taken with my Canon 5D, 105 millimeters, probably f5, and ISO 50.
Is there some sort of favorite lens you have for taking portraits?
There is. So I guess it kind of depends on the genre that I'm trying to take the portrait in. But in terms of sharpness and just that hyper detail, the 85 millimeter f1.8 in my arsenal of lenses, which is small, you can't beat it. This was taken with my 24-105 f4, and I was at 105 millimeters, so I was getting that perspective distortion, not perspective distortion, the perspective compression. So the background
it's really compressed. But it's funny that you mentioned that the 85, because my favorite portrait lens on my I have a crop camera, right? Is my 50-1.8, which is at around
effectively 85 millimeters. Yeah,
right. It's around 80 millimeters on or so that's I also found this to be a very, very great focal length for portraits. And I in the shooting that I mentioned that I had 2 weeks ago, it was really interesting. I had a 60 millimeter 2.8 with me as well. And but it didn't give me, there was this, it's just, I mean, there's just 10 millimeter difference, right?
Yeah.
Well, a bit more, like 15 millimeter difference on a crop camera. But it makes a really huge difference in the final photo. So I don't think I used any of the shots that I took with a 60. Which because in direct comparison, the 50 just shined.
They say that the 85 millimeter focal length, whether it's, actual true 85 millimeters on a full frame or equivalent on a crop sensor, they say that's close to what the human eye sees. I've heard that said about a lot of different focal lengths. Like some people say that 135 is what the human eye sees as far as I don't know, per proportion.
Proportions might be
different. Yeah,
so it can't be it definitely can't be the angle.
Yeah,
but do we really care? I mean, that's one of the things, because and it's funny, I just read an article like a day or two ago about that yet again, and how it depends, and how the nifty 50 became, and again, but do we really care when we're doing this sort of thing about that, if we're being creative and so on? I mean, again, depends on the kind of portrait that you're taking and what you're trying to capture. But I know I don't care. I just sort of, you know what I mean? But and I take all these things into account, and it's fascinating. But when I'm shooting and I'm at that moment and I'm with someone and there's that instance of I want to take your picture, all that other technical stuff just flies out the window.
Well,
for me,
I think it's I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not a technical person at all. I just look at what I like, and I found like 80% of all portraits I ever made, excluding the stuff that I did for weddings, because I shot a couple of weddings, but like 80% of the portraits I ever made, no matter which kind of genre of portrait, from really just headshot to artistic nudes, I made with my 50 millimeter, because I like the outcome best, and it's a pure creative decision. It's a pure decision because of what I liked, and therefore I found it very interesting that Daniel said that on his 5D, which is a full frame camera, he loves his 85 millimeter best, which is very close to the 50 on my crop camera.
Yeah.
So yeah. That is a wider angle.
Like,
that was
So I was gonna show some wider portraits that I've done. Wrong photo. So this is a friend of mine. Her name is Judy, and I think I was at 24 millimeters with this. And there's just something I like making people seem larger than life. Especially for kind of my editorial style photos, which this is not editorial, but you know, the work that I do for first gen, I try to do a lot wider and make this person seem really powerful and larger than life, like I said. And going wide, I almost feel like I can't get wide enough. Like I was gonna buy the 17 to 40 what is f4. I can't remember what the aperture is, but it's a Canon pretty wide angle lens, just so that I can get that really oomphy wide look, or something like this, where it's nice and big.
Yeah, cool.
Even like leaving some of the distortion in there, just to make this person look huge. I love it. I'm trying to find some other.
It's also your composition and the fact that you're photographing from slightly below, and actually this one the same. God, that shot has never been taken before, Daniel.
I know. I do grad photos, and yeah.
No, it's not that.
I see
it's the location.
First time. I've seen it the first time, so it's for me it's completely new. So
right, no, but it's a
I
great
don't know
shot,
the campus.
Right, but during graduation, that whole area around the center of the campus, the student union. What I was going to say is I like the fact that you sort of, again, to give that perspective, you don't shoot at a 90-degree angle. You shoot a little lower so that the person is being looked at from below, even just a bit, which gives them a bigger. Here, there's another one right there. That there's several right here where you have that take. There you go.
Yeah. And I think it's sort of the genre, I guess, a photo that you are trying to work in. So with this, it's more editorial. So my subjects, they all have this commonality, which is they're the first generation in their family to go to university. And a lot of them come from really underprivileged backgrounds. Now, that's not universal. Like, I don't know, there are some very wealthy, successful people who never went to college and have kids who are now first gen. But one way or another, I do my best to just elevate them, make them appear to be the champion. And
so wait, go back to that photo.
This one.
Yes. So, and you know me. So I am going to comment real quick. One of the things I love about this is that you've sort of captured the feel for the student community center, that slightly off kilter, but the beautiful colors, and then the person themselves is perfectly just that attitude. But what I love about your photograph is that with everything that's going on around it, the person's face is framed, and you've got that the second floor balcony cutting like almost right at the jawline, and then there's that very green background. So really everything that's going on, you focus straight in on the face. You go straight to the face because that's what's framed beautifully. Anyway,
he's on the focal point where rule of thirds. He's on that left hand.
There we go. That's the other thing.
So,
well, and then all of the straight lines and the angles and everything, and then you have this smiling face right there. That's actually balanced on the other rule of thirds side by the mural and the trees. So it's a really interesting, playful composition.
Thank you.
I still don't like you, but okay.
There were a lot of distracting elements in this photo, in the original, that I since photoshopped out.
Like the chairs and the umbrella?
Can you see my mouse pointer on the screen share? So all around this ground right here, there were just little bits of gum. And there was some like schmutz on this trash can and just all these other little distracting elements that I got rid of because with my portraiture, it's all about reinforcing my subject.
Yes.
Whether it's through, so I do it through composition. I try to do it with leading lines, you know, show you probably a couple of others that have leading lines. I mean, this one is an obvious leading lines one.
Right.
You know, depth of field, like I put a little bit of vignette on damn near everything I do nowadays, because it's all about reinforcing my subject. You know, here's another nice wide one where the lines are more or less intersecting toward him.
Right.
Actually, it's between the two subjects because it's about the two of them interacting.
Yes.
It's not about him. It's not about her. The lines are going between them.
Yes. Now, do you think about all of that while you're taking the image, or does that just serendipitous?
It's not. So I'm at the point now where it's not a conscious thought. It's like I point the camera and I know all these things. I know these rules, but I know them well enough to know it by feel now.
There you go.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
It's a bit like driving a car, right? You don't have to think about, now I'm putting my foot on the gas pedal and now I'll put it on the brake. It just happens.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to bogart you guys. I just want to show maybe 2 more photos and then we can move on. Is that okay?
Yes.
So this is the photo that Fern was talking about, of our coworker. I don't know if coworker is the appropriate term. He is very much my superior in the office. Should we leave
a very
out the
nice
name?
guy. Very nice.
He's a very nice guy. Yeah.
Very nice guy. I mean, I have to say, I just happen to have a great working relationship with him because we're very honest and we just talk about stuff, and this is what can be done and this is what can't. Doesn't happen very often, but when I've had to talk to him about work, and we talk about other stuff. So it's I mean, but I also pick on him and he picks on me. So, you know, it's fair game. But I will say also at work, I don't know about in your case, but that's part of the casual environment that we work in.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
So this is another 85 millimeter. It was just, I was taking photos of all of our, I don't know if it's assistant vice provost or associate vice provost. Anyway,
maybe they're both.
AVPs.
Yes.
And it was a quick session. And what I love about
now, was this outdoors?
It was outdoors. It's
the patio,
the Grove area,
right
behind my office, and the sun was a couple hours from setting. So this highlight that you see on the side of his head is actually a reflection of the setting sun, and you can see it in the catch light in his eyes. That is my shoot-through umbrella, which has my flash on it. Actually, yeah, I should forward you a link to this really wonderful resource that Lindsay Adler put out called Finding the Light. And it's all about how to read what light and what modifier was used on a photo just by interpreting the portrait itself.
Wow.
So you could figure out how this portrait was taken just by looking at the catch light and the nose shadow and some of the other highlights and the depth of the shadows and all that kind of stuff. It's a wonderful resource. I'll have to link that before the show wraps up. And you know, this is another from the same series. I just love the hyper detail of my 85 millimeter. I find that some people are really taken aback by how much detail there is in their photos because how do I stop screen sharing?
You go in. Oh, actually, it'll there you go.
That's how.
So I have to. That's a really interesting thing that you just brought up, and I this is kind of an aside. On the one hand, and again going back to Sean Tucker, I totally agree with him. One of the things he said in a specific video about the workings of doing portraiture, which is one that we discussed, where he talked about, remember the one woman who was unsatisfied with every picture, and that he was trying to make her look horrible, and he even went back and reshot. But the one thing that he said in that video was, one of the things he said was, he will take out some blemishes and things that he realizes are temporary, like maybe a pimple or something like that, if it's easy and if it's going to look natural. But anything that's like wrinkles or anything like that, unless, you know what I mean, that's just a part of who you are. He does not touch that. So the camera,
and I think we disagreed largely on that. I think we had a discussion on that in private.
Oh yeah, we had a long discussion. Yeah,
and I saw that video, and I absolutely do not agree with Sean Tucker in this. I agree in the basic way, because you can't, and I think I personally, I don't retouch photos. Well, of course, if there's like, I agree with Sean Tucker if it's about stuff like temporary things, like a pimple or something. Of course, I do that, but I don't retouch. I don't do body forming. I don't do. That's dishonest. And I say that I don't do that because I would never take an assignment or to take an assignment or a job like that, because I just don't do that. I'm interested in the person, and I'm interested in and that for me is the interesting bit about portraiture. Or two things. It depends a bit, of course. In some cases, it's about what happened, and maybe if we have the time, I can show a couple of pictures. There are things when I have an idea and I want to approach something, and then I want, of course, I want to get as close as ever possible to what I had in mind. But most of the time, it's the interesting bit is to find the balance between what I mentioned before, like what are the expectations of the person that I'm taking, or I will want to take photos of, and my expectations, and so finding that, working that is a fascinating process. So, but here we are at the also quite funny, because during that 40 people portrait thing 2 weeks ago, literally the two questions that I was asked all of the time. Number one, most asked question: oh, your camera must be very expensive because it takes such great photos. Which is funny, because the camera is like 5 years old, and the lens, 50mm 1.8-2, is like the cheapest lens that exists, but it's a great lens. The second most often asked question was, you will Photoshop the photos, won't you? So this was almost a demand. And I said, I don't have to. Well, okay, that was a lie. There were a couple, if you know, there was some that I knew from a bit better. I told them, yes, I will. I didn't. Nevertheless, they were happy with the shot. At least they told me later that they liked the shots. But to most people, I said no, because I won't have to. And that was kind of the big shock for most, and we just took a couple of shots and I showed them, right? And I said, okay, do you think I need to Photoshop that? No, I don't think so. But back to Sean Tucker, what bugged me back then about that video and about what Sean Tucker said was, because he totally went into this whole, it is not my responsibility if you have a problem with your self-esteem. And so I'm not your therapist. If you have problems with how you look like, then you need to go to therapy. And I really, yes. I think that was mean. And that was actually that was the video why I unfollowed Sean Tucker's YouTube channel, because that's not professional. I mean, I get it. He was pissed off, but fuck it. If you're a professional photographer, then you will have to deal with difficult clients, and you can. The thing is, my personal opinion. This is my opinion. I don't say this has to be done, but in my personal opinion, if a person, I worked in that field myself, and if my job is to satisfy my client, if I can't do that, then it is not necessarily my fault. But then I have to admit and say, okay, we're not a match. Apparently, your expectations don't match my expectations, or I can't give you what you need. And that is perfectly all right. But blaming the person and basically saying you're insane because you don't like my work, that is mean. And that says more about Sean Tucker than it says about the person. That's my opinion. So that's why I personally think it as my experience as a videographer and in my experience as a photographer, honesty is the most important thing about that. And showing people, I hate showing photos during the process. But if I see that, or I will show. There was a time I didn't do that, and then that was when I had most problems later, because people didn't know what they can expect from their own shots, right? From the session we were doing, and so I made a habit of first, depending a bit on how the person reacts and what kind of connection we get. Either I prefer to just take a couple of shots and then show the person a tiny little selection and say, okay, this is how I would imagine. What do you like? What don't you like? Or do you want to have something very, very different? So let's try to find something. And sometimes when I feel that I have to show them the first photo that I took, right, to calm them down, or to reassure them, or to whatever. So this is you have to develop a feeling for people. And yeah, that was my disagreement with what Sean Tucker said, because I don't think this is a professional way to approach that.
You know, okay. There was a time, like even probably before you gave your explanation, where I would have been in agreement with Sean Tucker that there are some people who are fundamentally dissatisfied with the way that they look, and no matter what you do, they won't be happy. I recently I've had this experience multiple times. There are just various people that I encounter who, I don't know if it's that they don't like the way that they look, or if they don't like the way that I have the light set up, or what have you. But first shoot, they didn't like it. We scheduled a reshoot. They didn't like it. They even liked it worse. And and I'm a busy person, and these portrait shoots are usually on the lower end of my work priorities. And I just kind of had to put an end to it and just be like, I'm sorry, this is the one that we have, and I don't have enough time to accommodate your needs. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking exactly what Sean Tucker said, which is, I'm your photographer and not your therapist. But your explanation just now, which is that, it's not all them. They are not the only person that has the control over their photos, the way that they look. I mean, that's what we do as portrait photographers. We control the light, we control the lens, we control the exposure, and it's up to us to come up with the image. And if they don't like that image, then yeah, it's you need another photographer. We are not a match, like you said. So yeah, you've changed my mind.
See,
Ooh.
I
Can I sorry, can I say one more thing? Because first of all, I'm happy that I did. But the thing is, how often it happened a lot to me that when I took a photo of a person that I didn't particularly like, said, okay, it's an okay shot, but or not a really good shot, and you show that photo to the person, they say, oh, I love that shot. So I wouldn't blame the person and say you're insane because you like that photo. So I can't do that in reverse. So yeah, but I really think it's about finding a match. So sorry.
So I still agree with Sean Tucker because it wasn't quite as harsh as the way Pete described it, at least from what I heard him, the way he talked about it. But it was a situation which was understandable. And it's funny because, Daniel, you basically said the same thing. You went, you did a reshoot, and this person was still unhappy. And in this case, and I'm assuming this was your case as well, it wasn't even a photo shoot for that person where you can say, well, you take your money back and find another photographer, because obviously we're not a match, but it was a situation where it was for a company where it was, I want to say 50 or more employees, and everybody was happy except this one person. And I think what they kept saying was that they were just distorting the face and making it look fat or something. And I distinctly remember he had a really interesting point that he made to this person. He said, maybe you're used to seeing yourself, taking selfies, which I just read something about this a couple of days ago, where you should always take from up above and blah, blah, blah. And you just, and this person made whatever the issues were. And he wasn't quite that harsh, but he did say, maybe you need to, unfortunately, I can't do anything else. And it was a situation with the company on top of everything else, where they were looking for feedback from the people who were photographed themselves. It wasn't what would usually happen, where the company would say, or a lot of times what can happen, these are the ones we're going to use, and let's move on. So it was given the situation, I think he did the best he could, because, and again, I've never been in that kind of photo shoot situation except for once, but I will say the bottom line is he went back, he did the reshoot, and as you pointed out, and Daniel, what are you going to do? Go back and reshoot again? You could, there are just going to be those situations, and I think his response and I saw it completely different. I saw it as him talking honestly, person to person with someone. And saying, obviously, you've got it. Everybody loves your pictures. There's several pictures here that people love, and you're not, because that was the other thing that I do remember. Other people liked this person's pictures, but they were just not satisfied. No way. And I don't know about you, but I know people like that, and it's really interesting.
But that's the thing.
And they're photogenic too.
But that's the thing.
To me, anyway.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, you're absolutely right, and I kept that out, and not on purpose, because I simply forgot. It is a slightly different situation when, like, he was shooting for a company, taking photos of employees, and so. But it's so. Still, I okay. Let me get a step back. So. It is a slightly different situation as if he would have, or quite a very different situation as if he would have, if this person were his client. But still, what I think, it was absolutely professional and perfect. And I don't think that this is something that everyone would have done. So this is even very, very professional by him to go back, do a reshoot, etc. Try to explain that to the person. What really bugged me, though, is because it happens. You cannot. It is not possible to satisfy every person, and so. But this is not his fault, and it's also not that person's fault if they don't like. I mean, there's no question that the stuff that this person said, like you're making me deliberately make me look fat or something. So yes, but what bugs me is that he goes out as a person, as a photographer, as a professional photographer on YouTube, and that's what he did, right? He blamed this person for the fact that they didn't like his work. Because the thing is, and here we are.
See, I don't see it that way.
I had it a couple of times in different situations in video shoots, because I know what I can and I know what I can't. There are things that are really good. There are things that are adequate, and there are things that are bad. And when I know that it is technically not bad, and someone blames me for that and tells me this is shit, etc., okay, then this is their opinion. But my self-esteem is big enough to not let me drag that much down to go live on you to go on YouTube or go public and talk about how this person basically treated me, and tell the world that this person is insane and needs therapy. Well, this is not okay. This is not professional. This is what bugs me about that.
Well, yeah, but I think part of the problem is that he didn't identify the person in the YouTube video. This was something for other photographers, and it was his take on this. And he never quite said insane. I mean, it wasn't.
He said she needs to go to. She needs to go to therapy. That's what
no. He didn't say she needs to go. That she might consider, trying to figure out about her body image. Well, no. I think there's a difference in the way things are said, and we're not going to agree. So anyway, I'm going to. We're not going to agree.
No.
So I'm going to show some of these images. Forgive me. There's going to be real quick. All of them. By the way, Daniel, these were shots with what the hell? Oh, here we go. With a the almost equivalent, I'm assuming, lens, but it was a Nikon 105 millimeter. It is actually their portrait defocusing, as they call it, lens that is supposed to have superb bokeh, and it's specifically for portraiture. They have the 105 and the 85. And I have to, just as an aside, the lighting on this and the whole setup.
Can you share your screen?
Oh, sure. Was where the hell? Here we go. Was prepared by TJ. I just walked. I felt so Richard Avedon, I could die. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just walked into the studio. He handed me the camera already set up. He handed me all the lights and everything were set up. Actually, and there's some at the well, here, I'll start with these. He did some test shots of me first, and then he said, "Okay, have fun." And so this is, I love this photo. And then there's this one. These are just the test shots. But it was an absolutely stunning experience to just walk in, have everything so beautifully set up, and just be given the camera and take the pictures. I felt like a rock star. So anyway, these are his of me. These are a couple of them are. This one is one of the student assistants who just happens to be there, and I said, "You want to let me take your picture for a couple of minutes?" And I love some of these pictures. This is where I just said, "Do something stupid," and he did. And actually, we're looking at him backwards in the progression of when they walked in and when they got a little bit more relaxed. This is Joe, one of my colleagues. He's got gear acquisition syndrome. He's got gas.
Oh, no.
Loves professional cameras. Has all the equipment. Oh, the lenses. Oh, I'm like, dude, please. But there we go. Love that picture, actually. And again, these are we're looking at them backward from when they were more relaxed to. This is Nancy, who's no longer working with us, one of the members of the of the project. And these were going to be portraits that were going to be used. Another person who was who was in the project, who was absolutely brilliant young woman.
Were you on a
incredibly
tripod?
smart, incredibly talented. Yes, no, I mean, it was the stool full. I have a picture of the setup actually, that I will show you in a second. I was with a tripod. I think it was with had the tripod, the lighting, the reflector, the lighting in the rear. I mean, absolutely. I had so much fun, and I know that I got at least a few of these that were really good, just solid portraits. I mean, nothing stellar, nothing editorial or anything, but anyway. And what's interesting, oh, this is my boss. And they've never seen these. And then like Jeremy, for example, who hates being photographed, but who has eventually learned to trust me enough that I will just go up to his workspace and point a camera at him, and he doesn't flinch. This is another one of the bosses. I photographed him before. Anyway, that's it. And yes, I've done the street stuff, and I have the other stuff, but these are for whatever reason, the ones that I'm the most proud of because of the setup. Hold on, let's see if I can find. Where is this? Is from last year.
You got some tabs open.
Oh yeah, well no, because these are all so these are all. So let me show you. This is like one of my earliest portraits at 2012 at the farmer's market at work. This is someone who was a friend of a friend, my friend who passed away at her home in San Francisco. My little niece, when she was on her 3rd-year-old birthday. This photo was very popular. It was actually reblogged by Lens Blur, which absolutely freaked me out because I'd never thought of myself. Now here's something that I just want. I love this picture. This is still one of my favorite people pictures I've ever taken. Posted it, reworked it, posted it again. Didn't even get, I think, 20 likes. This photograph, the bar, the bottles, the look on her face, the fact that she's holding the phone. I keep thinking, you do not want to fuck with this young lady. She is pissed right now. And is it me, or is it, or am I just, is it just because I love it? I mean, is there something, is this a bad photo? And if so, how? I mean, I'm seriously asking.
I think she brings a lot to the table in this, and you know, so
is it the crop?
The crop is, I mean, she's slightly off of the focal point, maybe a little bit. That doesn't really matter. I mean, we can see enough of her, like it communicates like that sassy. Actually, I don't even know if it's sassy. It's like
pissed.
It's pissed, yeah.
Really?
Looking up, got her head tilted down. Her shoulders are shrugged. She's got her phone. Like she's contemptuous. But like I think there are a couple of aspects of this that I don't like, but I don't know if I'm being overly critical of it.
Go.
It is what it is. I'm guessing in order to get the exposure that you had an on-camera flash.
Yes.
I can see the on-camera flash reflection on all of the bottles, and I think there's a little bit of catch light right at the center of her eyes.
Yes.
And I love some catch light. I love having catch light on the top part of a person's eye or down at the bottom, but right on the center, it's a little alien-like. It's, I mean, actually, and maybe in this case, it's like she's shooting laser beams out of her eyes. So she kind of is shooting laser beams.
You were talking about it. That's what I was thinking. It's like, well, actually, that's enhancing the. But you're, yeah. Anyway, continue. Go ahead.
But so there's some other like distracting elements to this, but they also give a sense of place. So it's, for what it is, it's not trying to be an art photo. It's not. It's
no.
This is purely like you took a photo at a party of somebody being sassy, and you've communicated that well. Like, she's communicated that for sure.
Oh, yeah, I didn't communicate. I just see, and that's the thing. I mean, it's not art. It's not anything other than the capture of this moment that I absolutely love. And that's what I love about most of my portraiture. There's also, again, this is another one. I love this photo. I actually like it more in black and white. But again, this is another photo that never got any love, not in black and white, not in color. And I love the the expressions on the faces, the expression on her face. There's just this photo makes me so happy. It makes me so happy. I'm going to the Chinese New Year parade leaving in like a half hour to drive down there and take more pictures. Yet again, and I don't understand why it's not. I mean, again, it's not art, and I get that. It's not trying to be art. But yeah, any thoughts?
I have some thoughts, but I kind of bogarted a little bit on the last ones. Do you want to?
Yeah, go for it. I'm seriously asking.
So things that I like, I think you get a sense of the place very well from the people that are around, the garb that this person's wearing, and I think I like the colors a lot. They're really vivid, and you also even get a sense of the motion, or I don't know if it's motion blur or if it's just slightly out of focus, but it feels like you just raised up your camera and took it, and there maybe wasn't time to compose. It was just in the moment you saw this and you grabbed it.
Yes.
And that's a very street photography kind of feel. I think it's like Henri Cartier-Bresson, I think he would post up in a position, and he would know what his composition was going to be, and he was going to wait for it to happen.
Yes.
This is the antithesis of that. Like, there was a spontaneous moment, and you raised up your camera, and there it is. The thing that I don't know if I like it or if I don't like it, but this photographer in the background I find very distracting. So
I really like him. I think for me, he makes the shot.
He's interesting because it's a juxtaposition. You have this person. So I'm assuming that they are both Asian. I don't know if that's a generalization, but they both have some of the facial features. So the reason I point this out is because you have somebody who's very traditional, and then at the same time somebody who's very just hip and modern. You got the person on the side with their cell phone, and this guy with his chic glasses and leather jacket and his camera with what looks to be just a crazy fisheye lens. It's juxtaposing them completely, and this very traditional person is right there smack in the middle. And I think I don't know what's distracting about it to me. I think it's that he's facing out of the frame. He's pointing his camera out of the frame, so there is this inherent curiosity about what he's shooting, what's off to the side of this photo. And same with the subject of the photo is looking off to the left-hand side.
And actually the woman is also See, and that's what I love about this photograph.
Okay.
That's interesting.
To me it's like there's a lot that's going away from the photograph but not reinforcing inward.
Yes. And that's exactly so it's interesting that's what you find as a negative is what I find as a positive. That's cool. Anyway, do a few more. This one,
I'm very subject reinforcement centric.
Oh, see, I tend to take pictures often. Love this one.
Wait, can you go back to the person in the box office or whatever that was? Or this is just a window at a cafe?
No. This is someone actually at the Castro Theater in the box office.
Oh yeah, it's the little hole right there.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. I think he has a lot of personality.
Yes.
Like he's got some tattoos on his arms. Yeah, I like this.
What I love about that whole shot is the person behind glass, right? It has this on the one hand side, this very, very private moment, very to his own, looking at his cell phone, being completely immersed to what he's reading, looking at, whatever. And the other hand, because he is behind glass, he is public. So
Yep.
this is a really, I really absolutely love that.
Great point.
Because it has a certain surreal quality almost, right? It's the same thing. It's a bit like in a zoo, right? You look at the animals who are in their quote unquote their environment, right? But you look at them, and this person is really sitting there, being exposed to us as the spectators, but seemingly not taking notice that he's been noticed.
Yes.
It's voyeuristic without being creepy.
Right.
Yes. Well,
Oh,
and what's
wonderful, yeah.
yes, and what attracted me to this was the juxtaposition of him as very modern with his cell phone and everything encased in that box office that is very Art Deco or Art Nouveau, basically, because it's like from the theater from the 30s. Anyway, thank you, gentlemen.
Sharon writes on the chat. I'm sorry, didn't pay attention to the chat in the last half an hour or something. Because Sharon writes, I like the fact that he's unaware the photo is being taken. It seems completely natural. And she also made a comment to one of the photos before. She certainly has an interesting expression, could be interpreted in many ways. So I think it was the kitchen photo. Could it be the kitchen photo, I guess.
The I'm gonna kick your ass photo. There's this one. This one. This one. This photo I love. Again, didn't get any love, but I love the two women here especially, and then these guys overexposed. I mean, it's not a good photograph, I don't think, as far as the technique is concerned.
The exposure is perfect.
Really?
Yeah. So like there are a couple of aspects that maybe
so they're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So the umbrella in the upper right is brighter than anything else in the exposure.
Yes.
So I don't know if you could you could crop this super wide to where it's cut off below the umbrella, and you would still see like guys derrieres, and this woman who's also very brightly lit clearly is just in awe of what she's seeing.
Yes. Yes, that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
I don't know if it's awe or shock, but yeah, this is.
So I have to say, I would love to do that cropping, but this is from my D50. These are all from my D50, where the cropping, because I love this picture. See, but again, I mean, it's not art, but it's like my stepmom and my stepsister and my stepmom looking at me like she is so full of shit. Oh, I love this one. Speaking of being creepy, but this was in the middle of the street, and this is what happened, and I love this photograph. One of my favorite. No, not because I just love the light and the moment. This is one of my favorite portraits I've ever taken of my cousin and his girlfriend, and she has a nasty sense of humor, and he's just looking at her because he's just head over heels with her. God bless him that he found her. I love this photograph. Anyway, let's see. But again, it's just a moment. Another photo. Yeah, this has a whole story. This is also.
Go back to
Mr. Perfect.
The men sitting around the table.
Yeah.
I love the light on this gentleman in the back. You really get a sense of the dimension of his face with the shadows.
Yes.
I enjoy that a lot. I like how you have some of the action of the photo down on the bottom. So you see who's involved in this story. but you're also seeing like a hint of the action. Like I'm guessing this is just a bunch of guys who got together for a drink in the middle of work.
Yep.
Just,
well, no, after work.
After work.
Yeah. Anyway.
Nice.
Oh, so this is someone who works at UC Davis. He's tech in the department studio, in a photography studio, and he Jesse, and I just caught him at a moment when he was being contemplative, looking at a camera. I love this one. Love this photograph. Wound up that this guy was on Tumblr, and he said, "Oh, it's me." But again, just the, you know what I mean? Just and these are the kind of photos. This is another photograph that I don't understand why didn't get as much appreciation. I love this photo where everybody's paying attention to the parade, and this one woman has caught and is taking a picture of what I really was attracted to, which those two little kids just sitting there having fun and not caring. To me, it's just the moment. But that's the kind of the cops. Let's see, another one. Oh, Charlie's Angels, baby. I love this picture. I mean, it may not be a great photograph, but there's just something. And to be honest, I didn't even see the Charlie's Angels until I was processing the photo. And I'm like, this just the feels. And again, that which it goes back to. So anyway, why I'm showing photos like this is these photos now that I'm taking on the street like that at these festivals and so on. I was just walking around and dancing and hey, can I take your picture? Sure. And that's the reaction I got. And you know, but to me it's a totally different experience. And this is actually.
Can I just real quick thing about the last photo?
Yeah.
Wait, not that one. The Charlie's Angels one.
Charlie's Angels.
I like that it's the horizon is a little bit tilted so that the right side is a little bit higher than the left side, because that adds this tension and like energy and sort of direction of their movement.
Yes.
I don't know. Yes. You see their legs moving and you've frozen that in time, but having that just tilted horizon adds that little bit of je ne sais quoi.
Yes, and what I actually like about this photo too, and I think that's actually how it was taken, because I do have problems with holding the camera steady, especially when it's one of these, oh, quick, let's take the picture. Is that the photo is, in a sense, the three guys, it's sort of weighted down in that direction.
And it's even like really hard light to get a good photo in, and yet you managed it really well. Like,
well, that was a lot of tweaking.
Midday or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and still, like, even though they're backlit a little bit, like your exposure is great. And
that was a lot of tweaking in camera raw. Oh, and this, okay, so story about this guy. I'm going to share this. He was with a friend, and I stopped him and I said, "Can I take your picture?" Because I love the way he looked and I love the glasses. And he's like, "What do I do?" And his friend at this moment, right when his friend, this is at the Castros, gay area. His friend said, "Think of Dick." This is the expression on his face, and it just makes the photo, I think. And I love this.
You need to tell the story in the caption.
Oh, well, no, I just called it reacting to his friend's dirty comment. And I love this photo of the surfers in Munich.
I was just wanted to say it was in Munich, right?
Yeah, this is when we went. Yeah. I absolutely love these. But again, I don't know if they're great art. Oh, and my mom, who's actually one of my really great models. She just doesn't care. I sit there and take pictures of her, and she's like, whatever.
It's really wonderful light on that one. It's really, they call it Rembrandt light.
And you know what? It's at a restaurant where, I'm going to be going down again at the end of the month, and we'll probably go there. And then there's Dominic, and this is the one that I was talking about where we were just sitting there drinking wine, and I got this photo.
Yeah.
Oh, which I love. Really nice. Anyway, that's it for me. Pete, you going to share some people pictures? We've already been talking for 2 hours, by the way.
Right, we did. Okay.
Pete has been talking for 2 hours.
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I'm such a chatty. I'm such.
Oh wait! Stop sharing.
So
All
let
right.
me just prepare something. Okay, then I will share the very different photos, because the ones that I will show now are all staged photos. And does it share? No, my Hangouts hangs.
Really?
Yeah, but apparently I'm at least still online. My Hangouts hangs. I hope it won't crash, or else
That
we
would be
have a
that would be too
problem.
sad, Pete, not being able to see you and listen to you. Oh,
That would be terrible,
that
right?
would be terrible.
No, my Hangout hangs. Interesting.
And I have to say, by the way, also the portraits I took and again they're like on the train, you and Heiko, of Steffi and Heiko, I got some incredible photographs of our group when I was out in Germany. I mean, but again, it was just very instantaneous. Oh, sure, here, I'm just going to take your picture. And I don't think you even noticed when I did some of them. So there weren't even posts. There was just very in the moment, but really good photographs, I think. Because they capture something happening.
So it seems that Chrome, my browser, hangs, and now I hope it will unhang, or else, well,
Well,
let
I
me.
stopped screen sharing, so it can't. Because I thought that might be
It's
it. But
no. It's Chrome here. My browser says doesn't react. So
it's the German version. That's
probably that's the problem. For that. So the problem is I can't do anything. I can't even stop the. Well, I will try
You're
something.
kidding.
No, I can't do anything, because let me. I hope you know. I don't know what happens if I just close the browser. Maybe the whole
We go away.
That's the question. Whether you will stay in the. I don't think you will, because
No, because you're hosting.
yeah, but will it really stop when I'm out of the call? That's the question. I don't know.
Do you have another browser?
Yeah, well, of course I
Go to
have.
the other browser and insert the Hangouts link and join that way.
The problem is I
Hangouts
don't
only
have
works in
the
Chrome.
link.
Hangouts
Well,
only works in Chrome.
I will just try. I will just close my browser and will try to get in, and I hope the stream won't. In case the stream will stop, then you know why, and then we don't have a proper goodbye. So I will just close my browser. If we're lucky, then the whole so we'll see. I'll just it doesn't even close when I click it. Okay, now it does.
Daniel?
Is he gone? Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, well, he's not. There's nothing. That's interesting.
Right.
Okay, are we still on YouTube? Wait, hold on.
Yeah, looks like it.
Let's do this.
Yep, we're still live.
Common issue with Hangout crashing. Hold on.
You could just say it and she'll hear it.
Oh, that's true.
Okay.
Thank you, Alok. Yes, that's. I didn't know that this was a common issue. I tell you, I see you. Would love to try street photography again. Sharon, you would just be phenomenal. I mean, your no people pictures are wonderful, but you would be. I think. Well, all y'all. you know me. I'm fascinated by all of everybody's talent on Tumblr.
So something that you said earlier, Fern, which was you had this really long lens on your camera, and people were intimidated by this crazy long lens because it had this kind of voyeuristic feel to it. Like,
I'm back. Great.
Welcome back. So I recently picked up Canon's 40mm f2.8 pancake lens, and so the camera body is, I don't know, this I can't really represent this very well on my camera
I can show you, because I have the 24 pancake. I'll get it. Give me a moment.
Wunderbar. And yeah, having a pancake lens on your camera. Actually, your 24 millimeter is an EFS lens if it's a Canon. So that won't work on a full frame camera without some serious vignetting. But having a pancake lens makes your camera so much like smaller profile. You can hide that in a pocket and take it out when you need to and take photos, and people aren't going to be like, oh, look at this guy with this crazy ass camera. It'll be like, oh, this guy taking photos.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's one of the things. I mean, even with the let's see, Pete. Yeah, and it's funny because now I have the 55, but that's still kind of a hefty lens compared to something like the Pancake.
A bit, yeah.
But that's also why I'm honestly at this point, this is what I'm going to be shooting with. I probably will not get another prime lens. I'm still learning this one, but I think my attitude itself also helps that situation because I'm having fun. I'm taking pictures.
Yeah, for sure.
But you never know.
I'm not saying that having a pancake lens is automatically going to make people feel comfortable. Right. It's one little aspect that you can do. Yes. Now that I say aspect after the previous time that I said aspect and there was an ass on the... Sorry. Pete made a comment. He was like, aspect. Yes.
Yes.
So just that one little aspect can... I can't even say it anymore. I can't.
No, I know what you mean. But yeah. So here's a question for y'all. So what about with specifically street photography? I here's something I have issues with, and maybe it's because of the incidents that I've been through with the guy who thought I was taking his picture, and then with the other one who the whole posting his photos and so on. What about the whole concept of taking pictures of people from the hip and all this stuff and trying to hide that you're taking pictures? I'm not comfortable at all.
No, I don't think that's right. I want to see if I can take a second to figure out why I don't think it's right. By concealing your camera, you are implying that what you are taking a photo of is something that you don't want other people to know that you're taking a photo of it. And that might be true for street photography, where it's like you don't want to ruin the candidness of the photo, and by showing somebody that you're taking a photo of them, by asking their permission, you're breaking that kind of natural, organic feel. If you're shooting from the hip and you have your camera in silent mode and whatever, there's a time and a place for that, and street photography I don't think is it. I think it's inappropriate, it's voyeuristic. Yeah. I think if somebody catches you, if somebody catches you doing that, they're going to be like, what are you taking photos of? I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I would just advise not to do it.
It's funny because going back to Sean Tucker, cover your ears, Pete. One of the things he talked about is, because he does do street photography, but he says that what he tries to do is he's not so interested in the person as the person blending into the environment and the light and so on. The kind of photography I always think of when he says that, like Fan Ho was the person I immediately think of, with these stark shadows and light and so on. And that if people come up and say, hey, what am I doing in your picture? Says he'll show them. He'll say, look, they can't see your face. You're part of the picture, but it's not. If you don't want me to, fine, I'll just delete the picture. But it's not. You know what I mean? It's not that you're trying to hide and get over. That's the thing that I just am not comfortable with myself. I totally agree. And there's the thing, and again, this might be a whole other discussion, but I certainly feel, where'd Pete go? T-Boom is presenting.
He's back up, but he's got his screen
sharing. Oh,
and
I tried screen sharing and it works apparently.
I really want this.
Well, what are you sharing? I can't see it. I'm looking at Daniel.
Yeah, because well, I'm your big screen now, I guess, right?
Yes.
Right. I just tried it. I just tried whether it works. So continue talking. You.
Oh well, no.
It
What was
worked
it?
for me. I clicked on the TVoom icon in Hangouts,
Oh, there we go.
and it blew you up.
There we go.
Oh, I didn't know that. That
Yeah,
works.
yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I've done that before and I completely forgot. Yeah, go ahead and share. I want to see your pictures.
Okay, then I'll share. And so,
Oh, I remember these. These are from your other.
some of them. So
I liked your wedding pictures too, by the way.
yeah, I have some here. I don't know if yeah, maybe I show some because I made a couple of folders here in Lightroom.
Can I see the ones that you have up right here?
This one, yeah. This is apparently very very staged shot. 50 millimeter, one flash through an umbrella in a completely, as you can see with the eyes, right?
Pitch black
It was
room.
pitch dark. We literally had no light other than the flash.
Yeah.
So it was manual focusing with the torchlight, manual focusing to get, which was funny. And this was basically it was my first time ever that I used a shoot through umbrella.
Beautiful portrait.
Yep.
I like the only thing that I would even think to critique on this was like that her pupils are so huge, but that's the only thing that I dislike. Everything about it is really the color of her hair is so vibrant.
Yep. And it's vibrant, but all of the color is matches that bang, but it's not overpowering.
Yeah, it's not oversaturated.
Yeah. No, it's not oversaturated, and the tones, those warmer tones throughout the whole image, even though it's a flash, white flash, it's just beautiful. Yeah, and it frames her face beautifully. The orange of the hair and the coat frames her face beautifully.
Yeah, and I like how you brought the blacks up. I don't know if this is just my monitor, but the blacks look grayer than black, so she's not like completely cloaked in darkness.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's
this faded film look.
You see it, yeah, right. That was the idea, and you see in the histogram, there's no real blacks in there, so it's really very dark gray.
I enjoy that.
And it was a series of photos where here we go, library. So this is it's a bit too. I'm not quite happy with that, but I had it's the wrong edit that I pulled, but it's kind of the same. But this was in a basement, and it really like in a very Munich, one of really old houses from the 1920s or 30s, and the basement's really like there are old mattresses lying around and junk, and really amazing location to shoot.
I like the light. I like your light in this because it's hard without being too hard, and I like that he's wearing just kind of these grungy clothes that match the grungy surroundings. And like his tattoos on his hands and on his fingers and his sort of expression. Am I seeing like a little bit of purple in his hair? Or is that just me?
There seems to be a little bit of purple.
Yeah, it is a bit. But they're years old. Maybe I put a bit of split toning in there. I'm not sure. No, didn't even split tone. So it's just.
No, because there's also there isn't purple anywhere else except also on his pants. So I didn't even think of the split toning. It just seems to be that's the way it is. You know what else I like about it is the composition itself and how you have the door included all the way to the top, and then you see a little bit of the wall. So there's that rectangular shape that sort of makes, I can't quite, but I like it. I like that door, that glass there, that it gives it something. If it had been just more of the wall, I think this is why I like it, because now that I look at it, you've got the door on the right, and then you have the mattress, so that in a sense it emphasizes and frames him, and you're more drawn into the face and hands than everything else, which is still there, but it's not. If I'm making sense, I'm not sure if I'm making sense.
No, you do, definitely. And I think the door is absolutely needed.
Yeah.
If there was just the wall, then this would be just, yeah.
We're not seeing I'm not seeing the picture. I'm looking at the little one on the left.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Did it change?
Yeah, no, there's just a big old blob of gray where you're
I'm sorry.
pointing at stuff.
No, the problem is when I zoom in. Okay, maybe it's with the sharing. I'm sorry, I didn't, because I only have one monitor. So
if you switch back to your library, it seemed to work before.
Let me check. That could
it
be.
did show up in it.
The problem is I don't see the Hangouts window while okay, that could be while
there we go.
No, okay, I'm sorry. Then it wasn't the develop. I don't see the Hangouts window when I'm in Lightroom. Okay, now it's back. Yeah. So yeah, is an amazing place to take photos of. So, and on the this is also a shot that I really like. Of course, also staged and posed. Was
really.
Yeah, it is staged and posed.
Oh, it has a very natural. Honestly, I'm shocked. I never would have. I thought you captured a moment there. No, instead of being posed. Wow!
Was a day of also very, very cool opportunity. It was a day with shooting absolutely amateurs. Well, people who have had no experience whatsoever in front of the camera, and it was for, as you can see, but you can't see because you don't know the logo, is for a chain of hairdressers in Munich. It was actually clients who had their hair done, right, and then taking photos of the clients. It was really, really cool. There's some amazing people there, and she was just brilliant, right? Because really, really a character. And brought their own clothing and really presented themselves in the way they wanted to present themselves. Well, of course, we had communicated, and that was so I really like that shot. And it's probably one of my favorite shots.
I like this one a lot too. I like the highlight on her chin, down below her chin, right there. Looking at it from a distance, it really slims her face a lot. She looks like she's
right,
in late 30s or so, but she looks very youthful. And I think it's because of that highlight and just the way that you framed it. Like normally, so what I've heard as a convention is that like shooting up at women is unflattering.
It is, definitely.
And like shooting up a person's nose is unflattering. But I think here, like, it shows her strength. And it shows her presence, like with the clothes that she's wearing, her tattoos, the style of haircut that she has, the way she does her makeup, her presentation of herself shows like she's a strong and powerful woman, and she's out for herself. Like there's a lot of personality in this.
And that's the thing. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
That's the thing with a shot like that. I mean, that's a thing you can only do if you really communicate with people, because absolutely what you said, Daniel, usually it's absolutely unflattering shooting from because I was very close, right, and shooting more or less straight up. It is something that you really need to talk with the person and show them. So, okay, this is how it looks like. Is this something you, especially if these people are not people that you hire? But even then, I mean, a professional model is very, of course, they're very cautious how you will represent them, because that's their money. So but so these people, they have experience. They know, they probably know, many of them know how the photos will look like, and you can talk with people like that on a very different level. But with people who don't have a lot of, or even no experience, it's even more crucial to really communicate and to show them what you do, and what will happen, and how you will represent them.
I mean, we were talking about Platoon earlier. I know we keep on coming back to this, or I do. I think a lot of introductory photographers are like, oh, I got to have the gear in order to do this. I have to have the camera and everything. But if you look at Platoon's work, he's been using the same camera, the same film, the same strobe light, the same shoot through umbrella through his whole career. Yep. So it's all about making that personal connection, learning who that person is in such a short amount of time, and framing them in a way, knowing the limited tools that you have well enough to use them to craft your art. And that's like, Fern, I respect the fact that you are sticking with your 55 millimeter, because you're going to learn that lens so well. You're gonna use that like as just a way to craft.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just saw that the chat complained they didn't see the photos because apparently I wasn't sharing the photos. So this is the photo we were talking. I while you guys continue talking, I switched to the photos that we showed before, so it will be obvious which photos.
Sorry, folks.
So I'm sorry, my fault.
Always.
Definitely always. So you just continue talking what you were talking about, and I just switched to the photos.
I like this. Type louder, Amy.
Type louder, yeah. So this is the first photo of her name is Sabrina, in case someone is interested. Then this is the other shot with the door and the mattress that we were talking about. So, and this one is the one that I took the wrong edit. So there's an edit that is closer to this shot, so more color and a bit not as flat as this one. And I just took the wrong one. And this is the last shot from slightly below, or pretty heavily below, unflattering usually. And this one was on Tumblr radar.
That's great.
Really? That's a gorgeous photo.
That was an experiment. We just we played around because she has wonderful hair, right? Of course. And so we were playing around, and this was made with a blow dryer. And
nice.
What I love about that shot is just that her face is obscured, right? And then there's this motion blur and with the hair, slight motion blur. So it has, but and I put that. That is one of the few portraits that I have on my Tumblr blog, and that was on Tumblr radar. And that one, I think that one was either that one or that one. I don't know. It's also one of the shots that from that series. I put one of the shots on my Tumblr, and either that one or that one. I think it was that one. No, it was a different one. I haven't, but also Tumblr radar. So, so landscape guy had to had 2 portraits on Tumblr radar. Strange occurrence. So yeah. And
Fern's gone.
Fern's gone.
Bye, Fern. Didn't say anything, just walked away.
He sometimes does. He
Yeah.
sometimes does. And
can I see this black and white one, number 8?
Number 8.
Yes,
that
please.
was also from that shooting with clients, right? And that was trying to incorporate the background, the background, because and there were these cool back paintings on the walls.
Yeah.
And I tried to put them in. And it was kind of interesting to work with people that I never even met before, and trying to find a way how to find out, because that is also one of these was one of these situations, right? You have my client, they say we want cool pictures, and you have those people who also have their some of them had their expectations or ideas, others none at all. So trying to find a way how to match that all. So was quite an experience.
Was this with prepared light, or was there like a window off to the left-hand side?
There, I think, if I remember correctly, it was also just the one flash shoot through umbrella from the left.
Ah, gotcha.
So if you see that,
in the catch light,
you see it in the catch light in the eyes. So there's, but the window, there was a window, but it was comparatively dim light. It was daylight, but daytime, but it wasn't really a lot of light from my behind my back. So there was very comparatively flat light, and I think there was a door somewhere here, because you see on that side of the face, it's a bit more light. So there was a door here on the right, and a window behind my back, and and from the left. And you see that even on the wall, on the left side, the wall is a bit brighter than on the right side. So this is also a spill from the flash through the umbrella.
Yeah.
So that's Fern's still gone.
Can you zoom in really quick on the top of her hair?
Wow, the detail.
Yeah. I like how the wall is acting as a bounce a little bit.
Yep.
So they're getting
right.
a little bit of highlight around their heads.
True, yeah.
I don't know if it's on him too, because his hair probably doesn't have that same kind of specularity to it.
No, it doesn't. But it's a bit. It's there right here. But that's I think it's still from the flash. And you see, it's really grainy, because I had to go to ISO 800, which was, I think, back then. Yeah, I still work with a 550D, which isn't really that great with high ISO. So 800 with that camera is kind of the maximum that I used for portraits, because it immediately, it was not only grainy, it started to become grainy, but you also lose a lot of dynamic range. That now I have for like 5 years or so, the 700D, which is so much better in that aspect.
But with this photograph, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sharon in the chat says she looks bemused and he looks serious, and the art / graphic in the background lends a little whimsically and unexpectedness to the portrait.
Yes, and the graininess in this one, because of the art and everything, just I like it. I really like it.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous. You're good. you, Pete, with people
Thank
and
you.
stuff. You are. No, I almost every time we talk, I wind up talking about your photos from. I mean, not that your landscapes aren't good, but your from your T-Room 365 or whatever it is, right? Yeah. Where your other one, your people photographs and stuff are gorgeous when you experiment with other stuff. You're good.
Fun. I just don't share that on Tumblr. That's the thing.
Well, or you share it on your other one. But
Rarely.
yeah,
I rarely share portraits on, but that's the reason why I think that I might start, but I'm just too lazy. Well, I don't really have the time at the moment to restart my Flickr, because it's that would be for me rather the place to share portraits than Tumblr.
So
yeah, sorry.
Go ahead. No,
the thing is with
show the other one. Show the one next to it. That one.
That one.
Oh wow.
Sort of a beauty lighting setup. Like there are zero shadows on her face.
Right. It was kind of funny because I put literally a movie screen behind her, like these screens that from my Super 8 projector.
Yeah.
So you had that. It really reflects the light a lot, and yeah, it was that was actually a warming up shooting, because Julia is a nude model, and we had an artistic nude session, and so of course first you just you communicate and you play around and you just do some regular shots, and I really like that, and I played a lot with the crop, and I really like this kind of unusual crop in that shot.
Yeah.
And she was kind enough to allow me to use one of the other portraits that I made for a video about portrait retouching that I put on my channel.
That's lovely.
But there's actually not really a lot done, because and that's why I love the 50mm lens. If you shoot with the 50-182 at fully open, you get so the skin almost gets a glow. So there's literally no softening done in Lightroom. It's just okay. Yeah, she does have great skin, and she's had perfect makeup, of course. But this is just it's the only thing that's really done in that shot is I did a bit of I added a bit of painted a bit of contrast in the hair, and I brightened the eyes a bit. That's literally everything that's done to that shot. And it's also shoot through umbrella from the right, and just a bit of hairlight, a bit of softened second flash from the left.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that was maybe a V flat that you had put on her left. Well, her right. Camera left.
Two external flashes.
Okay.
One through the umbrella, so from here.
Yeah.
Slightly from above, and then from the side, just a second flash.
Lovely.
So that's really, and I of course this is YouTube. I can't show the nude shots. But and then I did this the last thing that I shared. Will share. This is also a shot from that, and this was really the idea for that whole thing. I wanted to make something. I don't know the English word for that. It's kind of a sort of how are these religiously themed little paintings. In German we say, I think something like iconography or something.
Iconography.
Something like that. It had to be like this whole kind of a mystical sort of religious type of feel to it, with it's a very, very similar edit to these shots. Basically, I used as a basic the same preset I made back then for these shots. I made a preset
Mm.
that I used as a basic, and I use that preset for a lot of my photos, and I just adjust that for these shots. So this is yeah, I'm really happy with the outcome because, well,
Yeah. I like especially how she's looking just ever so slightly above the
Yeah.
camera. So I don't know, it gives it a little something that I
Right.
can't quite put my finger on.
And that's the thing when you there's not much going on in the shot. It's just the presence that's there, right? And that's totally that is the model, and you can't fake that. It's just either it
Her
works or
mouth
it
is
doesn't.
just like her mouth is open a little bit.
Right.
She's looking up. It's like she's having a spiritual experience.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the idea.
Fern, how are you on time? I know you were saying that you were trying to get to the Chinese New Year.
Well, we've been talking for over 2 hours.
Right, 2.5 hours.
I think it's time to give it like.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you both for sharing. It was really
Sharing is
great
caring.
work.
You did. So yeah, then let's wrap it up. Thank you all for being here. Of course, thank you very much, all you lovely people on the chat. It was, like always, a big pleasure, and that's for me one of the most amazing things about what we do here, to be in contact with you while we were chatting. So you're just as part, and even if you can't or don't react to each and every, we try to each and every comment on the chat, but this for me personally is one of the biggest fun parts of this all, because how else would I be able to bear Fern, right? So thank you all for being there on the chat. Thank you, Daniel, for being with us again, and I hope
My pleasure.
well, our pleasure. I hope we'll see you soon, or have you soon back on the show. And also, yeah, thank you, Fern. So that's for today. Thank you all. See you. I hope we will. You and me, you out there behind the screen, right? Not me. We will see each other sooner, because I have a couple of videos that I will hopefully put out soon. And so, but in this round, in this group of, or in this event of the InConversation, we'll see each other in March. Bye-bye. Till next time. And yeah, thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.